Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gail Carson. Welcome to Living Regret Free, a program that shows you how to live a better and more joyful life. As an added bonus, I invite you to listen to an introduction to my Mindset Matters program, which ties into this so well. Go to www.sobmindset.com. It's free, and I know you will enjoy it. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at gailcarson13@gmail.com or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
Hi, everybody. This is Gail Carson, and we have a very interesting guest today for our Living Regret-Free show. He is hailed by Time Magazine as a superdad. Armi Brott is a pioneer in the field of fatherhood and has been building better fathers for more than a decade. As the author of 10 best-selling books on fatherhood, he's helped millions of men around the world become the fathers they want to be and the children they need to be. I have to say, Armin, the reason I got in touch with you in the first place is not about your fatherhood, but about this piece you did in Cosmopolitan on that obesity was healthy. So you said being obese being severely overweight is healthy. And you posed a question at the end of it, is it? So I'm going to give you this opportunity to answer that question.
Well, just to clear something up, I didn't write that piece in Cosmo. It was something I was highly critical of, because I think that giving the impression to people that being obese and overweight is healthy is exactly the wrong way to go, particularly in this time of COVID, when people who are obese are about twice as likely to be diagnosed with COVID, and they're about twice as likely to die from it. So how we could get to a place where one of the major fashion magazines or lifestyle magazines in the country is telling people, largely women, that it's okay to live something that is decidedly unhealthy. I was strongly critical of that. So.
Thank you, because I'm a big a fitness fan, and people. In fact, I got a text, and it said, I can show you how to lose 60 pounds in I don't know how long. And I texted them back and I said, if I lost 60 pounds, you wouldn't see me because I'm 116 pounds. So there wouldn't be anything left of me. But anyway, so speaking of COVID, do you feel that men and women are affected differently because of it?
No, and that's one of the things, in addition to my fatherhood work, I do a lot of work in men's health. And one of the things that we really haven't come to terms with as a country is the fact that men are significantly more likely to have severe symptoms from COVID and to die from it. And one of the things that's been puzzling me is, as we've triaged and prioritized the vaccination distribution, we've certainly put older folks at the top of the list, and we've put first responders at the top of the list, and hospital workers absolutely where they belong. But we need to be looking at gender as a risk factor. And there's no question that men should be getting some kind of priority on the vaccination in the absence of any other kind of risk factors, simply because they are men, because we are, as guys, just more likely to get, again, severe symptoms and to die from COVID.
Wow. Yeah, I did my first shot, not this weekend, but the next weekend. And so I'm looking forward to that. Not looking forward to the reaction, but looking forward to it. So you've got this book, The New Father, A Dad's Guide to the Toddler Years. And it talks a lot about fathers, their role in their children's life. Is there a connection between fatherhood and health?
Absolutely. Yeah. Dads in a couple of different ways that are, I think, very interesting. It works both ways. That when men become fathers, they tend to instinctively take better care of themselves. Generally speaking, we go to the doctor less often than women do. We tend to not pay attention to our symptoms. We tend not to go to follow-ups. We tend not to take our medication. We're not very bright about these things. But when we have kids, we do get a little smarter, and we have a sense that we need to stay around and healthy for our kids. And so you have a situation where guys who, with kids, especially expectant fathers and new fathers, they start living a healthier lifestyle. They're more likely to quit smoking. They're less likely to drive, to go scuba diving or to go bungee jumping and things like that. Quit smoking. And also, on the other hand, which is a very important thing, is that men can be, they aren't always, but they can be good role models for their kids about how to take care of themselves. That guys can show their kids, particularly their boys, that, you know what, if you have a problem, it's okay to tell somebody that you're hurting. It's okay to cry. This whole thing about big boys don't cry is wrong. It's not doing anybody any good. And so fathers, becoming a father has a positive health impact on men just by itself, but it works the other way around by enabling us to be role models for our children about how they can take good care of themselves.
Wow, that's really interesting. So, what about educational videos? Where do you stand on those?
Well, I'm not a big fan at all, I'll tell you. There's been a lot of research on this that shows that the more time kids spend with educational videos, and that was the baby Einsteins and baby Mozarts and things like that, and also a lot of other educational videos, the more time they spend with those things, the smaller their vocabularies. And
really?
it's
really
yeah,
interesting.
it's having these. I'm sorry, say that again.
No, I said usually you hear just the opposite. You hear that, they're learning so much faster and they're aware of more things. So that's really an interesting viewpoint.
Well, I think that's the marketing departments are telling you those things. The reality of it is when a kid is watching an educational video, there is not the interchange and the back and forth that you have with a parent or with a live person. If a kid says "Baba," you can say, "Oh yeah, that's a sheep," or you can say, "Oh, do you want your bottle?" And "Oh, that's a big bottle. What else do you want?" And as you're reading to your child, the same kind of a thing that you would get with an educational video, somebody's telling them a story, you're going to say, "Oh, hey, wait, where's the moon? Can you see the moon there? Oh, what's that hiding in the bushes? Is that a bunny?" Whatever it is, you have an exchange with your kids, and so they get live language coming at them. They get somebody responding to them when they point at something on the screen. And that you don't get in the same way from educational videos. And so, I mean, the research is absolutely clear that yes, that there really is this inverse relationship between time spent on videos and size of the vocabulary, which is a message to parents that we need to be focusing on our kids and paying attention to them instead of handing them a tablet or a phone and asking them to entertain themselves.
Right. You probably have if this were normal times and you were running through an airport, you would see probably 90% of the kids on tablets just to keep them quiet. So that's really, interesting.
No, there's no question. It's interesting, and I'm not saying that you should never do it. I think we all need to get the kids to calm down or relax or be quiet for a little while, and I think using a phone or a tablet for that purpose is fine. But it's very cute you can look all over YouTube or other places where you get videos, and you can see hundreds of videos of toddlers and young kids swiping through things on screen. But what pediatricians have found is that kids under about a year who spend time on tablets have worse hand-eye coordination and poor muscle tone in their hands because they're not using their hands to build towers out of blocks and to actually hold things up and turn them around. And it's causing actual problems that can last for a long time.
Wow, that's amazing. That is just amazing. I'm just curious, Armin, you talk about technology in your book. So are you saying that these toddlers should not be allowed to play with their parents' phones, tablets, or computers? And at what age does that change?
Well, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be. I think that they can be important child pacification tools, if you will. that it's if you have an emergency and you really need the kids to be quiet while you're talking to somebody on the phone, or you need them to just calm down a little bit, or if you're in an airport, as you mentioned, and they're bored out of their minds and they're running around and you need to center them in some way, that's okay occasionally. But I think what I'm arguing against is the parents who just by default just hand the kids the tablet and say, go play by yourself. And the kids are not getting the interactive conversations that they need to have with other people in order to learn, and they're just not they're not developing muscle tone again by dragging something across the screen. Just imagine if you've got a tablet and you're trying to make a tower out of blocks on the tablet. You can drag the blocks across the screen and they'll stack on all by each other, all by themselves. But if you are trying to stack actual blocks, you need to figure out that you can't have the thing off center because it'll fall down. And you can feel that in your hands, and you get to know about balance, and you get to know about the structure of things. And you look on all the different sides of the blocks and you can see there's letters and there's shapes and there's numbers. And so having hands-on small muscle exercises like blocks or writing, I mean, children's handwriting is just way, way worse than it used to be when we were growing up. And so I'm not, again, advocating against technology. I'm advocating for a more nuanced use of it and for parents to spend the time with their kids. And yes, we're spending way more time with our kids probably than we were thinking we would, because a lot of parents aren't working and kids are home from school. And so sometimes we need a break, and sometimes the tablet or the computer is our break. And I understand that. But I'm just saying, just use it in moderation and not as the default electronic babysitter.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So, what would you say is the biggest advice that you can give to a husband and wife where the husband is really involved with the kids like you are, and they're trying to find a balance between the two roles?
Between the husbands and the wife roles?
Yes.
Well, I think one thing the advice I would give to the moms is step back and let him alone. You never would have gotten involved with the guy if you thought he was a danger to children. So if he has a different way of doing things, that's okay. The kids will learn from that. The kids are adaptable. They'll figure out what they do with dad is one thing, what they do with mom is something else. It's okay to give him advice, but if you criticize and tell him that what he's doing wrong or what he's doing is wrong, you're going to get into a situation that you won't like, which is that he's going to back off and not want to do it anymore. So I think it's important for moms, again, to just let go of some of that idea that they're the ones who know better. And then for the dads, I think it's equally important for them to just say, you know what, if I make a mistake, that's okay. That's how I'm going to learn how to be better at this, how to be a competent and confident dad. That's the only way. The only way you're going to learn how to do that is by making mistakes. So whether you've been involved right now or not, or whether you're just starting to become involved, it's just jump in, do something. You got to trust yourself and understand that you're going to do things differently than mom would do them. And your way is different, and it's not better or worse. It's just different. And kids who grow up with an equal amount of mom and dad end up doing a lot better than kids who just have one parent.
Well, definitely, that's for sure. So, I would think that, I'm not sure how you got the title, the Superdad. I'd be interested in finding that out. And I know you've been guesting everywhere: Fox News, Politically Incorrect, Glamour, Time, New York Times, Chicago Tribune, Newsday. I mean, just all over the place. How old are your kids? You've got 2 kids. How old are they?
Well, they're 30, 27, and 17.
Well,
so they're supposed to be grown-ups at this point.
Well, I was going to ask you, what have you seen as the difference between how the 30-year-old grew up and the 17-year-old grew up? The reason I'm saying this is I have a son who's 56, who I adore, and he has just been the most wonderful son to me. But I said, man, when you were 16, I could have booted you out of the house. So, what do you see as the difference between your 17-year-old and how he is compared to your 30-some-year-old?
Well, that's a big one because I'm right in the middle of a couple of feuds with some of the kids. The older ones, I think one of the biggest differences is that the older two, the 30 and 27, they grew up in a time where they can actually say, I remember before we had touch screens, and my 17-year-old can't. She grew up in a time when it's been nothing but touch screens. So their relationship to technology is very different. But I think what they share in common is both of them wanting to blame everybody else for whatever's going on in their life, which I think largely has to do with the fact that they grew up in an environment less at home and more in the environment around them, where everybody got a trophy and you're the best and you can be anything you want when you grow up. And those are good-hearted things to say to our kids, but I think they don't serve the kids well.
Well, I certainly understand that. And of course, I think too that your difference of having your younger child as a girl and your two older as boys, there's a difference there as well as to how they mature and they react to things.
Well, they're all girls. I didn't.
Oh,
I'm
they're
sorry.
all girls. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're. Yeah.
Well,
so
that's a different thing. So how did Armin become the superdad?
Well, I believe me, I didn't set out to do that. It was in an article that Time Magazine did a profile of me years ago, and that's what they said. So I had some marketing people designing my website, and they said, "Oh, that's a great quote." So that's what we'll say. That's what you were called by Time Magazine. So it's true.
But they had to have a reason for saying it.
Well, I think I've written, as you mentioned in the intro, a number of books, 10 books on fatherhood, and have spent my career for the last 20 years working with fathers and teaching and speaking all over the place. And they're really, I'm one of the very few people. I definitely was, I think, the first dad blogger, and one of the very few people who's written about fatherhood, certainly as extensively. So it's trying to constantly provide resources and educate and to help to give dads the tools that they need to be to become the dads that they want to be. So it's really more about, I think, my attempts to help other people rather than anything great that I've done. I think I've done the best job I could do. I've tried hard. I've certainly made lots of mistakes, as I try to emphasize to my kids when they're mad at me for something. So I tried hard. I never did anything deliberately to cause damage. But as we all know, whether we're parents or kids, it's not everybody achieves all of their fondest goals.
So if people wanted to get in touch with you, well, how would they do that, Armin? Where's the best place to reach you?
Best place is mrdad.com, mrdad.com. There's hundreds and hundreds of my podcasts from the radio show that I host. There's probably a couple of thousand articles there. All that's free. They can find out more about the books, and they can drop me an email that I always respond to. From all that through the clearinghouse of mrdad.com.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great title. Just like I use the SOB, the spunky old broad, and people say, "Well, why do you do that?" And I say, "Because I am one," But it does take you out of the pack, and I think it's wonderful that you've done that. So that's a fabulous thing. So again, by the way, folks, if you're trying to reach me, you can get me at spunkyoldbroad.com. You've got my radio shows there. You've got my store that features all of my products. You've got my SOB Virtual Club. You've got my university, which has my courses. And, of course, you can go to YouTube, too, where you'll find me as well. So a bunch of places that you can find me on Spunky Old Broad. And I really hope you go there and let me know how you're enjoying these podcasts, because radio shows, podcasts are all part of broadcasting today, and we need to be aware of them. So let me ask you, Armin, we've got just about 2 minutes left. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to alert our audience to?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, I do a lot of work with men's health, and I do a nationally syndicated column, which is at healthymentoday.com. And I would encourage people to during this time of COVID, while you've got a lot more time at home, is particularly guys, take better care of yourself. get some exercise, wear a mask for goodness sake. If you have the possibility of getting vaccinated, get vaccinated. I think it's absolutely critical especially for men, to understand that our lifespan as men is 5 years shorter than women's, and most of the reason for that is preventable causes. It's things that we do by not taking care of ourselves that contributes to that. So you can stay alive and healthy for your kids and your partner and yourself.
Yeah, so very important. Very important. I can't emphasize that as well. Not only for the men though, Armin, many women too are just, they're not active during COVID. They're sitting home on the couch, and
absolutely, yeah.
It's important to keep. I don't care if all you do is walk around your house. Get moving, because if you're sitting on the couch, it doesn't do anybody any good. So, we've been talking to the super dad, Mr. Dad, the super dad, I guess. You need to have a costume, Armin. You need to have one of those.
I have a cape.
Superhero costumes. I think that would be fantastic. So, again, if you are looking to find him, you can go to mrdad.com. You'll find his information there. You'll find his books there. You'll find everything else. I think it's terrific. I think it's great. Thanks so much for being with us, Armin.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Gail.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I choose my guests carefully, so if you have someone you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line at gailcarson13@gmail.com. In the meantime, check out my intro program, Mindset Matters, at www.sobmindset.com. See you next week.